Hello and welcome to the News Made Simple podcast with me, Komoto Mudise. Thank you so much for tuning in and thank you for your continued support. There's quite a bit that's been happening today at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, so we stay with that as it's the major story in the country right now. But before we get into it, I'd like to invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with all your friends and all those around you. And remember to press the notification button so that you can be notified every time something new drops. All right, let's get right into it. Today, we saw the third witness take the stand at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and it is an experienced police officer. Major General Petronella van Rooyen, with 42 years' experience, the head of legal at the police service, took the stand. Now, it's important for me to remind you that the witnesses that are going to be taking the stand over the next few days are still witnesses that are agreeing or the allies of General Mkhwanazi, in some shape or form. These are testimonies from people who are going to corroborate what Mkhwanazi has said, and they're going to be giving more evidence before the Commission of Inquiry. So we're not expecting any witnesses yet who are going to be saying Mkhwanazi is lying, it's not true, this is the stating the record straight. We're not expecting that at this stage. What we're going to be hearing over the next few days are people that come and say, yes, indeed, this is true and this is why. And Major General Petronella van Rooyen is one of those witnesses. In her testimony today, she gave a testimony around the legalities of what's been going on with regards to the political killings task team and the allegations that have been made by Mkhwanazi. She, started out really highlighting the fact that Parliament has failed in its constitutional mandate, in that they failed to do something when General Mkhwanazi pointed out the allegations of political interference. What you may not remember is that before that press briefing that had us all up in arms on the 6th of July, 2025, in March, General Mkhwanazi appeared before a portfolio committee in Parliament where he made the same allegations, naming some of the same people, your Brown Mokhotzis and the minister as well. He had told Parliament that he believed there was political interference in the police, but Parliament did not do anything about it. Instead, only now are they having this ad hoc committee, which is a parliamentary body that's going to carry out a parliamentary process. But this is something that they should have done all the way back then. And the question is, why? Why did Parliament take so long? And why did it take the outrage of South Africans, a dramatic press briefing, a police commissioner coming out in soldier regalia for something to be done by a Parliament? So that's the first thing that has been pointed out by Major General van Rooyen, that Parliament failed in its constitutional mandate and they should have done something. They ought to have done more than they did. The second thing that's been revealed by the Major General van Rooyen, is around the political killings task team. Who acted lawfully and who didn't? You remember that the directive came from the minister, Mchunu, the 31st of December 2024, to disband the political killings task team. And that decision was, or that directive, that instruction was given to the National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola, something that Masemola has testified that he was against. He didn't understand it. He said it came out of nowhere. And it said it must be disbanded immediately, which he had a major issue with. General Masemola testified that he took this matter to the president and nothing was done about it. He says that he knew that, after some point, a few months later in March, General Mkhwanazi went to Parliament, nothing was done about it. So then General Masemola then decided that instead of closing it immediately, he was going to stall and he was going to wind down and wind down and wind it down, with the hope that something would change, something would happen so that the task team doesn't have to be closed. Now, we heard today from Major General Petronella that the decision by the minister was unlawful. And she says it's unlawful because it's not within his powers to give such a directive. She says that the closing down of a political killings task team is operational in nature, which is the work of the National Police Commissioner, which is operational. She then points out that the minister's role is more policy driven and should not be operational in any way. And so she points this out and says that the minister then acted unlawfully. And even in the winding down, the National Police Commissioner had no business doing that because he has no obligation to carry, in fact, he has no business carrying out an unlawful directive. And she says that the minister could have written to the commissioner to say, I don't believe, or I'm of the view that political killings are no longer a priority in South Africa. This is what I am suggesting. And she takes issue with the word immediately, that the fact that the minister said it should happen immediately is quite untoward. And we then see how that corroborates what General Masemola was saying, because he too testified that it was an unlawful act, but he felt like his hands were tied and he couldn't do anything about it. But Major General Petronella then says, you had no business carrying out an unlawful act. I was wondering why no one consulted her, because she seems like she knows her business. Why did no one ask her? Or did they? It wasn't established during the testimony today. Now, it was then also pointed out that General Sibiya, of course, who features a lot in this, because he was pushing for this disbandment and, he was in the forefront of it, basically wanting to carry it out, it seems. Major General van Rooyen then points out that Sibiya cannot take instructions from the minister, because in terms of the order of things, General Sibiya reports to the National Commissioner because he's a deputy commissioner. The National Commissioner reports to the minister. Sibiya has no business taking instructions from the minister. And she pointed that out beautifully, painting out the fact that Sibiya had no business taking that directive, but also had no business taking the 121 dockets, which brings me to my next point. You'll remember that there was the issue around the 121 dockets that were taken from the political killings task team and taken to Sibiya's office in Pretoria. We then heard today the Major General saying, or taking issue with that as well, based on the sensitivity of those dockets. She points out how those dockets could not simply be returned to the different police stations where they were opened, whether it's in Umtata, whether it's in KZN. They could not just be returned to those police stations, to their local police stations, because of the sensitivity of the cases that were being dealt with, as well as the nature of the cases where in many of them hitmen were involved as well. She says it could not be done in that way. And she takes issue with how this process was carried out, with the dockets being taken back to the head office, and then, of course, the political killings task team having its power taken away from it. And the issue of the dockets is an important one, because there's been a back and forth with these dockets. Not only were they taken from the political killings task team, they were then returned now to the political killings task team. But the president and the current police minister have taken issue with this in light of the Police Commission of Inquiry. So that was basically the testimony by Major General Petronella van Rooyen, and it was rather enlightening around the legalities of the entire process. What we're expecting now is that we're going to hear another witness tomorrow from the NPA, who's going to be testifying at the Commission of Inquiry. But worth noting, at the same time, happening in Ekurhuleni, remember how KZN Police Commissioner Mchunu had specified or testified that there was a police officer that had given Vusmuzi Ket Matala blue lights for his cars and registered his private vehicles as municipal vehicles. Well, that police officer, the Major General Julius Mchunu, is on special leave. We learned today that he applied to be on special leave in light of the allegations made against him. At the same time, the Ekurhuleni Council wants to take a look as to whether he should not be suspended instead. That should also happen maybe this week, if not next week. So be on the lookout for that. And a lot of that is going to be happening parallel to the Commission of Inquiry. A lot of moving with people being removed from certain positions because they are implicated in testimony. So be on the lookout for that. We're here to help you make sense of it all. This is the News Made Simple podcast with me, Khomozo Modise. So grateful for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and press the notification button. But until the next one, it's goodbye.